I fall behind. The second-hand unwind. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Time after.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to Virtual Kisses. We've got Tanya here and myself, Elsa, and we are back to bring you a dose of good news. Today's topic is called Time After Time, and I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to hand this right over to Tanya right now to start off the episode.
Well, thank you, Elsa. Had a rocky start, but we are here. So, again, hello everyone, and yes, welcome back. So today I would like to share with you a testimony. I call it Time After Time. Time is a funny thing. When you hear that, you may look at your watch, or what might come to mind is basically being on time for work or a certain event. But the time that I am talking about today is not a time that we may think it is, where it requires us to do something in a particular time frame. The time that I may speak freely about is a time that takes place in your heart, and it pulls you or leads you, or it could call you to stand in place for others that require help. So when I heard the song Time After Time by Cyndi Lauper, simple lyrics in the lines, they basically caught my attention. And it says, if you're lost and you look, you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I will be waiting. Time after time. Time after time. Okay, so I was just ringing around in my mind when I was listening to it. And as I felt this particular song, like I said, sprang up in my heart. As I will now share with you what time after time means to me. Okay, so I and my daughter, along with my son, wanted to do some banking. As we entered the bank, my daughter got into line to complete whatever she needed to do. I also did what I needed to do, and my back was turned away from the entrance door. I heard an older gentleman come walking in, and I could feel, like in my heart, that he was sad and heartbroken. As I finished up what I was doing at the bank machine, I and my son sat down and waited for my daughter to finish. Then my eyes basically glazed over at the man who entered the building. I could also feel my heart being pulled in his direction. He was talking to a bank teller who I suspected he knew. As everybody else, guys out there, what would you do? You would try to pay attention to what you needed to do. But guys, within me, I felt I could not ignore this man for some strange reason, who now was right in front of me. He stood right in front of me. As he was talking with the lady, tears started to form in his eyes as he continued to tell his story about his wife, who was in great pain, and the doctors could not find out what was wrong with her. The bank lady shook her head, like, just like, I understand. The older gentleman was asking her to remember his wife in prayer. And the bank lady continued to shake her head. Yes, I will, she says. But so on our part, the moment my daughter was done, we started to walk towards the door. But before I started to leave, I walked up to the gentleman with I was really nervous and kind of anxious, but I did it anyways. I walked up to the gentleman with my kiddos right behind me and asked if I could pray for him. The bank lady, I guess, was kind of taken back. She's like, like kind of like what she's doing. Everybody was kind of staring at me, but I didn't care. He had the way he had tears in his eyes as I approached him and said, "Can I pray for you?" He said, "Yes, oh please, yes." So I laid my hands on him as I did. My kiddos followed right pursuit after me doing that and prayed. To make a long story short, the older gentleman felt peace all over him, and he felt calm, and he thanked us over and over for the prayer. He even said out loud in the bank, "Prayer is a key that unlocks wonders." And my kiddos and I stared at him, and we agreed. We shook our head and agreed with him. And I'm like, yeah, it is. And he just kept on saying over and over and over again, "Thank you guys. This is just amazing. Thank you guys." So we're like, yes. And we waved goodbye. We basically came in that parking lot, get into our car, and he came out the door and he was just smiling, and it's almost like his step was his pace was taken up, as if something wonderful has happened. So basically, guys, what I'm saying here is real time is of the heart right here inside of you. Whether you are a believer in Jesus or do not know him yet, you are the key to someone's breakthrough. The quiet tugs of your heart does moments and wonders when you act in love. So here's the scripture that I kind of looked up, and it spoke to me. It's Hebrews 4:16. It says, "Let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence, so that we may receive mercy and find grace and help us in the time of need." So guys, God's throne of grace is in your heart. Your time is always right, whether you're on the receiving side, like the guy receiving prayer, or maybe you're the engaging side, like myself and my children engaged with somebody to bring comfort. You are made, guys, for a time like this. Just like the scenario I gave you, or the testimony I gave you, we were made for that time, for that man to encounter God, and he was on the receiving end. So yeah, that is my quick story about time after time. It's basically not our natural way of looking at time by going to work, like I said earlier in the segment, or trying to get a particular thing done, but it's a time within your heart when you feel the tugs of whether it's prayer or helping somebody open a door, or even, let's say, paying for their groceries in the moment. It could be anything. It like I said, it brings breakthrough for the person maybe struggling in that moment, and you're the only one that can reach out with them in that particular time and moment. So that is my testimony about time after time, and I'll send it back right over to you, Elsa. Take it away.
Thank you. I love that testimony. I'm sure that guy was so touched and remembers that to this day. Love moments from God. I love moments. So I'm going to talk about something a little bit different. I'm going to talk about I'm going to give a couple testimonies about when I was moving in divine timing. So God's timing in my life, and how I was moving out of timing. So just talking about how, basically I'm going to talk about Proverbs 16:9. So Proverbs 16:9 talks about how we can make many plans, but it's the Lord who determines our steps. Another translation says, but the Lord is the one who directs our steps. Even though our heart is going to plan all our ways, we wait for the Lord's direction, and we wait for the Lord's determining of which step to take next, right? So one of my stories is, I've got two stories. Two stories were actually both times where I was moving. So the first time was the first time my husband and I had bought a place. And we never believed in, this is just like my husband's kind of, mindset. He never wanted debt. So we always rented. We always paid out our cars in cash, we wanted zero debt, and that's how we lived our life for a very long time. So we were always renting from place to place to place. And at this point, I was pregnant, I believe, with my son, and I already had my daughter who's 2 years old. And we were like feeling, okay, I think it's time, I think I was washing dishes one time, and I just in my stillness, the strong thought came to my mind, and the strong thought was like, it's time to buy a place. And I was like, oh, get behind me, Satan. Anyways, it was just like, can't not be God, because our plan, our ideas were that you get zero debt, and you never don't get a mortgage, don't get leasing on a car. Everything's got to be paid cash, and you live from cash to, from cash daily to day to day. So never have a credit card debt, all that stuff. So that was our thoughts. Meanwhile, I'm rebuking this God thought, and it was a total God thought. And God was saying, it's time for you to buy a house. And I remember I was kind of questioning, okay, considered the possibility that maybe this is God. God, if this is you, why would you want us to buy a house? You know that we don't believe in debt. Scott does not believe in debt. So we shouldn't. That's a bad idea. I don't know if you guys ever do that. You argue with God. So anyways, I totally did that. And I felt this impression again. It was it's like if you were doing a test and the answer comes, that's how it feels like. So this answer came to my mind, and it was like, now's the time for you to buy, because you won't get an opportunity like this for a very long time. Now, at this point, I was like, okay, what kind of opportunity is he talking about? Nothing had changed in the market. This was back in 2005, 2004, I believe it was. Yeah, 2004. Was it 2004? 2000. Yes, because I was pregnant. That's right. So 2004. So back in 2004. So we did. I went and I talked. Okay, well, you're gonna have to talk to my husband, God, because I'm not gonna do no convincing, right? So I just mentioned it. Hey, I was washing dishes. I feel like I heard God say it's time for us to buy a place. Scott was like, well, okay, I'm gonna leave you to do all the work. You find your real estate agent. You go do all the stuff. You do all the things, and I'll go to the showing. Whenever you want to go look. That was his input. It's like, all right. So I did. Called up this person who had been contacting me, actually, and was a longtime friend of family members. And so called her up, and she was like, I gave her my constituents, all my little guidelines and what I needed. And she had 3 places. So she calls us up. Okay, I've got 3 places to show you guys. So meanwhile, up to this point, I said to God, how can I partner with this? What do you want me to do? And back then, guys, it wasn't so much internet. I wasn't internet savvy. There wasn't so much on the internet. So it was cutouts of the newspapers. So I was supposed to get the real estate newspaper cutouts, and I cut out this one picture of this house I wanted. And it was a 4-plex condo. I wanted this condo unit. It had a spiral staircase. It had all these unique things that I wanted about it. I didn't read the print. For some reason, my eyes didn't really read it properly, but it did not have the right amount of bathrooms. It did not have the right amount of bedrooms. It didn't match any of the things I needed, except for it had a nice spiral staircase. Anyways, that's the picture I cut out. I was like, God, this is what I want. I want this one. I stuck it in my pocket. So then, Margaret, my real estate agent, she goes and we meet her. She goes to show us 3 places. The first 2 places, the first place, we went to the parking lot. We're like, we're not going. And no. Just looking at the parking lot. And so she's like, okay. Went to the next one. The next one, the people were coming. They were like, we're not selling. They had, even though they had the real estate box there, they were mad at her and they're yelling and they're like, we're not selling. We're not. We live here and blah, blah, blah. And they're supposed to be off the market. And she's like, oh, so sorry. So she had 1 left. And so then she goes and she pulls up the listing and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I thought I had a 3rd place to show you. I don't, because this doesn't match anything you wanted. And I was like, just show me what you have. So she shows me the sheet and I put the picture from my pocket and it was an exact match, guys, the exact place. We walked into the place and I remember it was Scott. It was Scott who was like, yeah, let Elsa do her thing, and we're going to keep renting. We walked into that place and he's holding Jada and we walk in, and when he saw the owners of the place, his heart said, what are they doing in our house? He had this feeling like I'm home. and only God could do that, right? So it was about perfect timing. So we were like, okay, we threw all our plans out the window. God said, go buy. So we bought. And within 2 years, the market went boom, as you know, like it just skyrocketed. We sold it for like, I don't know, more than double of what it was worth, and everything, and made money, used that money to travel around for their next like couple years, where we went from revival to revival to revival, and just like building into just our God walk, our God journey with me and my kids and my husband and with family members, because we visited them on the way. So that was the one. And that was all about divine timing and putting aside our thoughts and our insinuations and our, what we thought our plan. It was a good plan until God says another plan, right? So my other one was, we were renting. We had come back. This is from all our travels, and now we came back to just rent temporarily at a place. And we were renting, and all of a sudden, the landlord had called us and said, we really appreciate your time with us and everything, and we'd like to know if you'd like to rent longer, because your lease is going to come up here soon, and otherwise we need to know whether to rent this out. And so I went to Scott and I was like, okay, well, we need to figure out if we're going to rent, if we're going to stay, if we're going to go somewhere else. And Scott's like, well, we should pray, right? Right. So we joined hands, prayed, okay, God, what's next? And it was funny because I had a vision about the house next door to my parents 2 months prior. I had walked around the place. I was walking around the land. I had staked the land. I had no desire for this place, guys. No natural desire. There's no reason why it should be in my dream or my vision. But it was so clear. And I remember waking up and telling Scott, like, I don't know why, but I dreamt like we were living next door to my parents. Well, 5 minutes after me and Scott had prayed about what are we supposed to do? Do we continue to rent or what? My dad calls Scott and he's like, I have a question. Are you guys looking for a place to rent? Are you guys looking to move? And we were like, why? And he said, because the landlord, who I never see next door, they were really good friends with the people next door. They said that they had to find new tenants. And he said, you guys came to my mind, that maybe possibly you're looking for a place. And so that was another divine timing moment again, where we just had complete peace about it. We met with the landlords, they met us, and they were instantly, we just want to rent it to you guys. Like, don't worry about agreements and all this, like the place is yours. They ended up decreasing our rent by like $200 a month. They'd given us a check back after about 8 months because they said, you guys took care of the place so much. There was just such blessing and favor and peace on the decision. And again, guys, it wasn't our decision. It was because we were sensitive to God directing our steps, right? So what I want to say is trust God. Trust God. Like, in Proverbs 27:1, he says, don't brag about tomorrow, since you don't know what the day will bring. Or in James 4:13-16, it says, do not boast about tomorrow. Today or tomorrow, like it says here, come now, you who say, today or tomorrow, we will go to such and such a city, spend a year there, buy and sell, make a profit, whereas you do not know what will happen tomorrow. For what is your life? It is even a vapor that appears for a little time and then vanishes away. Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, then we shall live and do this or that. But now if you say any of that without saying the Lord wills, without asking God to direct your steps, without even submitting your plans to the Lord, it says, all boasting and all is arrogance and all boasting is evil. Guys, it's evil. So I mean, like, that's what I want to encourage you guys. There is such a blessing and a prosperity and a favor and a peace that comes upon you when you submit your plans to the Lord. He's not saying making plans are evil. It's when you are set upon it and you're making your own way and you're not ready to consult the Lord or even willing to ask his opinion on the matter. Just ask his opinion, because his plans are for you. They're for you. They're there to bless your life. They're there to prosper you. They're not there to harm you, as Jeremiah says. So that's what I want to share with my little house testimonies. I'm hoping that got blessed you guys today. And I'm going to hand it back off to Tanya for the closing.
Thank you, Elsa. Guys, yeah, that was awesome. So we're just saying, be blessed today, guys. Hope these messages of time, and whether you're in your heart or just planning your days or time with God, as Elsa's story showed us, guys. I hope we've inspired you today that you would just think on these things that we were trying to get our heart across to you. Also, guys, before I leave, just to let you guys, before we leave, just to let you guys know, as you can see, you can follow us at TikTok, Facebook, and
YouTube.
YouTube! Yes! So, guys, be blessed again today. And so, from our house to yours, virtual kisses. Bye, everybody.
I will catch you, I'll be waiting, time after time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me, time after time.
Okay, mine should work.
Hi! Hi!
Oh.
Hi! Hello. Hi. Can you hear me? Hi.
Yours isn't working. No.